What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video, the second video of the day actually. So if you happen to miss the first one that I put out, which was on the Rose Bowl matchup between Alabama and Notre Dame, I'll link that one in the description below, and make sure you go check that one out too. So for this video, we'll be taking a look at the second semifinal game, the Sugar Bowl, which will feature the long-awaited rematch between the Clemson Tigers and the Ohio State Buckeyes. And man, is there some bad blood going into this one. But before we get into it, as always, man, if you enjoy the videos I make or are feeling a little generous, make sure you drop a like on this video and subscribe. It would help my channel out tremendously, and I couldn't thank you guys enough. So for this video, I was thinking I would try a new format a little bit, because you know, why not? So how I'm planning on doing this one will be, I'll start by giving 3 things that I think Ohio State needs to do if they want to win this game. And then I'll switch it over to Clemson, and I'll give the 3 things I think they need to do if they want to win this game. And then I'll finish off by giving what I think will happen, as well as my score prediction for the game. So starting off with Ohio State, the number one most important key to the game for Ryan Day and this Buckeyes team will be winning up front at the point of attack on the defensive side of the ball. The front 7 for Ohio State in this one is going to be crucial for mainly 2 reasons: Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne. Starting with Trevor Lawrence, Ohio State has got to live in the backfield Friday night, and they need to get pressure on him, hit him, knock him around all night long, and make him as uncomfortable as humanly possible in the pocket, because if they don't, he'll get a chance to settle in and go through his read progressions and, you know, start finding not his first option but his second and his third, and he'll pick apart the Ohio State secondary all night long. Just to put this into perspective a little bit, Michael Penix threw for 491 yards when Indiana and Ohio State played earlier this season. So if Ohio State is unsuccessful at getting pressure on Trevor Lawrence in this one, I can only imagine what he's going to be able to do against that Buckeyes defense. So moving on to how Ohio State will have to handle Travis Etienne. Like I said previously, they need to win the battle up front and dominate them physically, but equally as important to that will be their ability to set the edge with their defensive ends and linebackers to be able to keep containment on Travis Etienne. Because once Etienne gets outside the box, or even worse, into the secondary, he's practically as good as gone. So it's going to be beyond important for Ohio State's linebackers to stay home, you know, do their job in the words of Bill Belichick, fill holes at the line of scrimmage, and to keep containment. So moving on to the third and final thing that I believe Ohio State must do if they want to get revenge on Clemson in this one is pretty obvious. Justin Fields has to play within himself. You may be wondering, what do I mean by that? For starters, he can't hold on to the ball too long. All season long against Big Ten competition, and especially in the Big Ten title game, you would see Fields hold the ball for so long until the pocket pretty much entirely collapsed, and then you'd see him break 1 or 2 sacks, make a few guys miss, and then take off and usually pick up a first down or a pretty sizable gain. However, against Clemson, this isn't going to work, and because I promise you Clemson will finish sacks and 100% make Justin Fields pay for holding on to the ball too long. Luckily for Justin Fields, though, he will be getting his number 1 guy back, Chris Olave, to go with Julian Fleming and Garrett Wilson, and having Olave back will take a ton of pressure off of Fields, because Fields just looked lost out there without him in the Big Ten title game, and Olave will also take a ton of pressure off of Fleming and Garrett Wilson. So yeah. So as well as those 3 great receivers, Ohio State's X factor in this one for me is Trey Sermon. The last few games he's really come alive, and I'm sure everyone has seen that Big Ten title game rushing performance when he set the record, broke the previous one. I'm pretty sure he ran for 330 yards. That's the new record, I think. Somewhere around there. Don't hold me to it. So if Ohio State can establish their rushing attack early, that will greatly help them in this one. Shifting gears to Clemson here, the biggest thing that Clemson needs to do to win this one is just play their game. I mean, I truly believe that's really all they have to do. Ever since that Notre Dame loss without Trevor Lawrence, they've been steamrolling, and it really looks like nobody is going to be able to stop them. Besides Alabama, I really do think that the only team that can stop Clemson is Clemson. Clemson also plays great defense, and they've done it all season long, but especially in the ACC title game against Notre Dame. They just completely dominated Notre Dame up front. They had 6 sacks and held Kyron Williams to 50 yards on 15 carries. And they also held Ian Book to only about 200 yards through the air. And that Notre Dame team is no joke. Their offensive line is one of the best in the country, and their rushing attack is also, I think, top 10 in the country. So yeah, that Notre Dame team is honestly no joke. And I would even argue that I think Notre Dame is quite possibly better than Ohio State. I don't think it's crazy to say that at all. So on top of that stellar defense that Clemson plays, they also just have so much talent on offense that I don't think Ohio State will be able to stop. And that's no shade to Ohio State's defense because their front seven has been awesome all season. It's the secondary that's been troubled. And the biggest thing I think is that I just don't think Ohio State is good enough to completely take away something that Clemson does well. Where on the other hand, I think Clemson is good enough to completely take away something that Ohio State does well. For example, whereas I think Clemson will be able to completely take away one of Ohio State's receivers or contain Trey Sermon on the ground, I don't think Ohio State would be able to do the same, such as either completely stop Travis Etienne, completely contain Trevor Lawrence, or completely lock down Amari Rodgers. Nonetheless, I think this game is going to be a lot of fun to watch, and I honestly think that this rematch is going to live up to the hype and be just as exciting as last year's semifinal game, when it came right down to the final minutes and Clemson ended up winning a close one. On the other hand, this year's version of the game I think is definitely going to be more physical and gritty due to the animosity between these two teams, which always adds a lot of excitement and stakes to games. So my final prediction for this game is going to be that Clemson wins and keeps that winning streak alive versus Ohio State, and ultimately will advance to the national championship game, where they will meet up with Alabama for the 1,000th time in the national championship game. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. As always, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and most importantly, just enjoy the day. Be sure to ring in the new year with some football. You guys all deserve to kick the new year off right after how rough of a year 2020 was. And yeah, I hope 2021 treats you guys all better than 2020 did, because I think it was a shit year for all of us. So yeah, that's going to do it for this one. I'm out.